Just Rob Fowler. We are here live in our studios in Mount Pleasant. We're going to go to Columbia to hear a briefing from Governor McMaster in just a moment. But first, let's talk about what's happening across the area. And when we're talking about severe weather here in South Carolina, you can see the pink, that's ice. A lot of that has not made it into South Carolina just yet. So I'm sure the governor will be briefing us on exactly what we can expect there. And then to the north, you see we have a whole bunch of snow. But this area of ice will be moving in across the upstate of South Carolina, most likely here in the next few hours or so, and the weather is certainly going to go downhill. So again, we're going to get a briefing from the governor. We'll be back with a local update coming up after the governor. We'll send you down to Columbia.
4 days perhaps without electricity, perhaps without water, perhaps without heat for that long a time. That's call that a disaster. So our emphasis is the neighbors, friends, neighbors, and family are really the best defense that we have to what is coming. Now we hope it won't be as bad as this, but it could be worse than this. So this is something that a lot of us have not seen before. A lot of our people have never experienced. We have new people coming in and haven't seen a hurricane before. But a lot of people have come to South Carolina to get out of the cold weather, and they will find themselves in some, particularly in the upstate. Airports could be closed down. Again, the highways could be closed, and likely. There's no place to go. Some folks have rented apartments or hotel rooms down on the coast to get away from the ice and cold that's going to be in the upstate for sure, maybe in the Midlands. But other than that, there's no place that we can go. The president has approved my request for a federal emergency disaster declaration. So we do have that comfort that we have some help. FEMA is here. FEMA's been here with us in the hurricanes, excuse me, as well. And FEMA is here now, and we appreciate it. And they've been very, very responsive. I communicated with Secretary Nome yesterday about the assistance that we've asked for from Helene. A lot of it has already come, and more is coming. We'll have that same process this time as well, but that's not the answer. The answer to what is facing us now with this cold weather and the ice all over the roads, on the power lines, is a real danger that we have to handle ourselves. So we are prepared, we're ready to go, and we have a group that's going to speak to you, be able to answer questions, all of you, when we get to that point. So I'd like to start off. I want to thank Josie McDaniel Burkett and also her colleague Holly May. They are here signing for us as usual. We appreciate that very much. And now I'd like to call on the chaplain, Christina Pittman.
Thank you, sir. Please pause or join with me as I pray. O gracious God, I pray for your mighty hand of protection over all who are in the wake of this storm Fern. May our preparation, response, and recovery be blessed as we work together. From our government and civilian servants to our loved ones at home, please be a shield of safety and provision. May we embody and witness the fortitude of the human spirit, and all who call upon your name in time of trouble know your ever-present deliverance. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. John Quirello, National Weather Service.
Thank you, Governor. John Quirello with the National Weather Service. The National Weather Service is very concerned about the potential impacts to South Carolina from a large winter storm which will bring freezing rain and some sleet through Sunday night to parts of the state and frigid temperatures into early next week. The greatest impacts will occur across the upstate of South Carolina, where freezing rain will result in crippling ice accumulations up to 1/2 to 1 inch. This will be the most significant ice storm in the upstate since 2005, and this will not only be worse, but also more widespread, causing extensive travel disruptions, prolonged power outages, and vast tree damage. Significant impacts are also expected elsewhere, extending through the Midlands and PD, generally along and north of the I-20 corridor, where 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice accumulation is expected. This much ice can still result in scattered power outages, hazardous travel, and cause tree limbs and power lines to sag. While amounts would be less, some freezing rain is still possible across parts of the coastal plain, with a light glaze on roadways, especially bridges and overpasses. As for timing, the greatest impacts will occur tonight through Sunday night, tonight through Sunday, potentially extending into Sunday night across the upstate and the northern Midlands. Temperatures have generally reached their highs for the day and should continue falling through this evening. Precipitation should increase in intensity overnight when the significant ice accumulations are expected to begin. Where temperatures remain at or below freezing, the ice accumulations will continue Sunday. Temperatures are expected to warm above freezing from the coastal plain through the Midlands Sunday afternoon and evening. However, sub-freezing temperatures could persist in the upstate through Sunday night. Temperatures will likely be above freezing throughout the state on Monday, helping to melt much of the remaining ice. However, a very frigid night is expected Monday night, with low temperatures ranging from 5 to 10 degrees in parts of the upstate, with teens across the Midlands and PD. With many power outages still likely, especially across the upstate where it will be the coldest, there is great concern for residents who will be without heat. Please take the situation seriously, follow the advice of local emergency managers, and stay updated on the latest forecast information from the National Weather Service at weather.gov. I also want to say, with many people expected to be without power, you might want to rely on NOAA Weather Radio, which actually has a backup feature by using batteries, so you still get weather information with NOAA Weather Radio. Thank you very much.
With what radio?
NOAA Weather Radio, sir. It's a network of radios the Weather Service has to provide hazardous weather information 24 hours a day. You could use it in remote locations, battery backup, so when we do lose power, like in this event, you can still be updated all the time.
Excellent. Thank you, John.
Sir.
Director Kim Stenson, Emergency Management Division.
Thank you, sir. As the governor said, Kim Stenson, State Emergency Management. Ice storms and severe cold impacts aren't really theoretical to South Carolina. John's already mentioned some of that. We had an ice storm in 2014. It was widespread rain and snow and caused significant damage across much of the state. And it led to hundreds and thousands of power outages and major economic losses, including property damage and infrastructure impacts across multiple counties. And at the time, the 2014 ice storm was the largest disaster in South Carolina since Hurricane Hugo. So it's important for all of us to have emergency plans in place for whatever disaster situation we might find ourselves in, and in this situation is no different. We all need to be our own emergency managers. The window to get ready for winter weather is closing fast. Making sure your home and family are prepared for extreme cold, poor road conditions, and the potential for extended power outages by having enough bottled water and non-perishable food to sustain each family member for 3 days, having a weather radio, a flashlight, extra batteries and chargers, monitoring local National Weather Service forecasts and pay attention to alerts for winter storm watches, warnings, and advisories, following trusted, verified sources for the latest news, insulating pipes, exposed pipes especially, to help prevent freezing and bursting. If temperatures drop significantly, letting faucets drip a little overnight can help reduce the freezing risk. And certainly ensuring alternate heating sources are working and always using heating equipment outdoors, properly vented to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Charging electric devices and cell phones ahead of any weather impact. And certainly, already mentioned, the governor did, check on your neighbors, especially the elderly and those with mobility challenges. Bringing pets indoors when possible and make sure they have access to water and shelter. And finally, avoid travel once precipitation begins. To help with planning, we encourage everybody to visit our website at scemd.org, which has a wealth of information for individuals, families, and businesses in preparing for a winter weather situation, including a winter weather guide. And also we have the South Carolina Emergency Manager app to help families create emergency plans, manage their supplies, find shelters, and stay connected. And it's available free at the app stores. From an operational perspective, here at the State Emergency Operations Center, we're taking several actions. One is we've been activated and will be operational to coordinate the state response to this event throughout the duration. We are deploying several state emergency management personnel to counties as liaisons to provide information and assist local emergency managers. Our logistics system has been activated to assist local authorities, and that system has been validated extensively over the past several years. Currently, we are coordinating requests ranging from generators to food and water. And starting tomorrow, Sunday, South Carolina residents with questions about winter weather can call the state's toll-free winter weather hotline at 1-866-246-0133. That's 1-866-246-0133. And operators with that system will be available 24/7 to provide information to the state's response and safety precautions. The governor also already mentioned that we've received a South Carolina federal emergency declaration that allows us to request federal assistance, primarily personnel and equipment at this point. No monetary piece of it right now, but that may come later. And then we have a designated federal coordinating officer who's embedded here in South Carolina, and that's Daryl Dragoo. And then finally, Team South Carolina has had a great deal of experience with preparing for, responding to, and recovering from disasters over the past several years. And this experience remains our greatest strength, and we will ensure our success moving forward in this particular operation. Thank you, sir.
Let me emphasize something Director Stinson said, and that's that cell phone. If the power goes out, you're not going to be able to charge it up. So charge it up, keep it charged, fully charged. And then if the power does go out, you'll have only a limited amount of power. So don't waste the power on anything that's not essential, because you might be without power for 3 or 4 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very
sir.
much. Secretary Justin Powell, Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Governor. Justin Powell, Secretary of the South Carolina Department of Transportation. The SCDOT has been actively preparing for this event all week. Crews have been treating roads, staging equipment, and stockpiling supplies. We have 3,000 personnel working round the clock right now statewide through the duration of this storm. We have already put down over 1.5 million gallons of brine on our roadways, with a particular emphasis on our interstates, our highest traveled primary roads, and bridges and overpasses. Crews will continue to treat roads through the day as the storm approaches. I-85 has already been treated multiple times from the North Carolina line to the Georgia line, and all other interstate corridors in those areas have also been treated multiple times. As you've heard from the governor, this is expected to be a major ice event with dangerously cold temperatures to follow. We know that means that travel will be hazardous, especially and potentially well into next week. We know that we are going to do everything we can to keep roads open and drivers safe, but we need your help. Please prepare now for the possibility that you will not be able to leave your home for several days, and to be patient while our crews are working to reopen roads and clear debris from our roadways following the impacts of this storm. Our number one priority at SCDOT is keeping our people of South Carolina safe. And I want everyone at home to know that SCDOT is working at all resources to help deliver on that mission. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, sir. Major General Robin Stillwell, National Guard.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Major General Robin Stillwell, the Adjutant General of South Carolina. The National Guard is on duty. Currently, we have 375 personnel on duty from the Army National Guard, the Air National Guard, and the State Guard. We currently have manned, as of 0700 this morning, 14 vehicle recovery teams along roadways in South Carolina designated by the Highway Patrol. We also have called up and have on station additional general purpose troops in the counties that we anticipate will be affected. Those general purpose troops are there to fill gaps and seams in local authorities' recovery efforts, to provide security for shelters, to provide additional manning for EOCs, and to provide potentially transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have debris clearance teams who are standing by from both the National Guard and the State Guard to help with clearing roadways after the storm has hit. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the main concerns that we have in this storm is transportation of citizens for medical attention or to shelters after the storm. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not ready for power outages or extreme cold, then please relocate or get to a shelter today. Today is easy. The roadways are clear. We can get you from your location to a shelter or to a safe space. If you or somebody you know does not have transportation, contact your local authorities, your EMS or your emergency managers, and you ask for transportation and it will be provided to you. The state will also provide resources from other state agencies or other counties that aren't impacted to help those transportation needs. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow after the storm has hit, transporting people, again for medical needs or to shelters, is going to be a much more difficult proposition. It will be much more difficult for local authorities and for emergency management to get to you. If you find yourself in a situation, you can call local emergency management and they will respond. The state is ready to provide additional assets and resources to augment and supplement local authorities. Those are either from other state agencies or from other counties that may not be impacted by the storm. We can also use the resources of the National Guard up to and including aviation assets, weather permitting. So ladies and gentlemen, again, I implore you, if you are not ready for power outages or extreme cold, relocate or get to a shelter tomorrow. We will respond to your needs, no question, but it will be much, much more difficult tomorrow after the storm has hit. Ladies and gentlemen, this National Guard stands ready to assist local civilian authorities and to support our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General.
Yes, sir.
Director, and y'all remember though, making those phone calls may be impossible if your cell phone's dead. Director Andrew Bateman, Officer Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Andrew Bateman with the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff. I want to reiterate much of what you've heard here today. This could be a potentially very dangerous ice storm with significant power outages and brutal cold following it. To that end, please prepare accordingly. Cell phones, please charge your cell phones all the way, have them charged through the storm to the extent possible in the event that communications may experience disruptions. Similarly, water and wastewater utilities could experience disruptions. You may want to fill jugs of water to the extent you need that at some point in time during the storm. I believe Kim Stinson mentioned earlier you may even want to have a slow drip on your faucet to help prevent your pipes from freezing. Make sure you have access to a heat source that you know how to safely and appropriately use. Again, this could be a very dangerous and long-lived ice storm. There may be significant power outages and limited ability to move from where you are once the storm hits. Please prepare accordingly and be safe. With that, I'd like to call up a few folks from utilities. Mr. Keller-Kassam.
Keller-Kassam, Dominion Energy, South Carolina. This storm is different. Back in 2014, we had Winter Storm Pax. That's the last time we faced ice in South Carolina. And it started in Aiken County. And where did it end up going? Dorchester and Colleton County. Every storm is going to be different. So if you live from Four Hole Swamp to Sassafras Mountain, you better be prepared for everything that the governor and General Stilwell have been talking about up to this particular point, because ice is the most unpredictable of all the elements when it comes to storms. So what have we been doing? Well, first of all, nobody talks about this storm, and the difference is it's going to be extremely cold after this storm. With ice storms that we've had before, the temperature warms up in South Carolina. That will not be the case over the next 10 days. So from a generation standpoint, we checked all the heat tracing on our generation units because you've got to be able to generate electricity. And so heat tracing are these wires that provide thermal protection for all of the instrumentation we have at our plants. In addition to that, we put up wind blockage so you can't have the wind coming off those rivers that would increase the cold and the chill within those units. So that's for our coal plants and then our natural gas plants, our combined cycle gas plants, as well as our gas peakers that'll have to come on. People ask about solar. We have 1,100 megawatts of solar on our system. I checked before I came over here. It was producing 200 megawatts with the cloud cover. Not a whole lot. When we hit our peaks over the next 10 days, I promise you it'll be producing zero. I was in system control yesterday with one of our senior controllers, Jim Moore, and he was already conserving water in the reservoirs that we have at Parr, Lake Monticello, as well as Lake Murray, so that we can use that instantaneous water to make up for that non-dispatchable resource that we have interconnected into our system. In addition to that, we've got a 45-day supply of coal inventory that's been built up at our coal-fired plants. So at Cope and Orangeburg, at Williams and Berkeley County, as well as Wateree and Lower Richland, they're ready with that supply, and it's good to go look at that fuel and know it's already there. As far as transmission and distribution, tomorrow morning, in the wee hours of the morning, we will initiate Operation Rolling Restoration. That's when we will bring our seasoned, most veteran linemen at the forecast holes out of the Charleston area, Mount Pleasant, Hampton, Bluffton, Beaufort, Somerville, Walterboro. They will all be coming up I-26. We've coordinated with Secretary Powell and in his group, and we feel confident they'll be able to roll into the Midlands where we feel like we'll have the most impacts on our system. As far as they also bring track equipment with them, and they also bring the helicopters. Governor McMaster saw that during Helene when we were at the Aiken Airport. And these will come. They have glass underneath the cockpit for patrolling, but they also have chop saws and the long extension saw, and they're outstanding for being able to get trees that might be laying up into our transmission. So that'll be important. The greatest risk we have facing our linemen are the same risk that you have, being on the road. We don't have any choice. You have a choice. Stay off the road if you do not need to be there. The second thing is fallen trees. Stay out from underneath tree branches. If you have a small limb that breaks and comes down from 40 feet, the velocity of it will make it feel 20 times heavier than what it is actually. So stay from underneath that as well. Beyond that, I will say use our company app. Everybody's talking about cell phones and cell phone use. Well, a lot of times you feel like you got to call into the call center and stay on the phone until you get somebody. Download the Dominion Energy app. And all you'll have to do through facial recognition is just tap a button and it'll tell you my power is out. That's quick. It doesn't use up your telephone battery. And then we'll give you an estimated time of restoration on when we think you'll be back on, when we can, on a county by county basis. You know, a lot of you ask all the time, well, when did y'all start preparing for this? I'll tell you, 11 days ago was the first call I made to Executive Director Bateman. And we talk on a 10-day roll for what forecasts are going to be. And I appreciate all of his coordination in regard to that with mutual assistance and updating him. No sooner had I talked to him than I got a call from Secretary Powell talking about coordination, talking about roads, talking about where to push the debris. And the Department of Transportation in South Carolina got a national award last year for just simply pushing the debris, people don't think about this, away from the side of the road from the power lines. So just something along those lines. Tom Allen and Emergency Management representing the utilities. Everybody you see up here behind the governor, he has one directive to us: communicate, coordinate, and collaborate. And through all of Team South Carolina, we will do that. This will be a difficult time for South Carolina, but Team South Carolina always comes through, and we will again. So you should be concerned, but you need to take your fear and your anxiety and turn it in the opportunity to prove who is my neighbor and serve those who are most vulnerable during this time. May God bless you and keep you safe.
Thank you.
All right, you've been listening to the governor and his team brief us on the winter weather situation here in our state of South Carolina. And while really most of this verbiage is not directed at us here along the coast, we know we're all in this together. And I would venture to say everybody watching us right now has some kind of contact or some kind of relationship with the upstate, the Midlands. Maybe you have a child going to Clemson or Columbia at USC and other places too. So we'll keep you updated. Now, as far as briefing our weather, you heard a lot of strong words from what's happening in the upstate and the PD and the Midlands. We probably don't have that kind of strong verbiage because even though we may see a glaze late tonight towards Interstate 95, nothing like what they're going to see in the upstate. We do have a lot of cloud cover, as you can certainly see across the region, but in terms of precipitation, really nothing showing up. The atmosphere fairly dry, and that's going to work in our favor later tonight when we do flirt with a freezing mark, especially closer to 95. Now, while we're preparing, you can see that most of the nasty weather hasn't even made it into South Carolina just yet. We've got ice, we've got snow about to enter into the extreme far reaches of our state, and all of this ice and even snow will be working its way southwest and northeast, and this goes all the way back into Texas. So this is going to be a wide-reaching impact across a large part of the country, including right here in South Carolina. And then you notice here, this is what we call a dynamic system, because while you've got a lot of snow on the southern end, you've got thunderstorms across the Gulf, and we may have to deal with some thunderstorms as this tail comes through probably late tomorrow, early on Monday. Current temperatures, we told you yesterday, most of us would be stuck in the 40s. That's exactly what's happening right now. 50 in Summerville, 52 Walterboro, 50 heading up towards Moncks Corner. Meanwhile, Mount Pleasant, a chilly 45, even colder because of the gusty winds. And as you look at the temperature extremes overnight, you see we do drop into the 30s overnight. That becomes more of a concern for us, again, especially along Interstate 95, where we have a better shot at seeing temperatures freezing or below. So right here, St. George, Walterboro, all the way to Moncks Corner, Kingstree, you're pretty close in Summerville by tomorrow morning to also see freezing temperatures. And if we do have any moisture, right now, the moisture appears to be limited. If we have any moisture, it has a chance of freezing. But here's a progression of what we're looking at on Vipercast. This is overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. That's when a lot of that ice will start to hit the upstate. Then you see little patches of pink. That's some of the patches of ice that could form, again, really right along Interstate 95. But we're talking also to Williamsburg County up in Kingstree. 7 o'clock in the morning, most of that will be moving on out. Then the best news we can give you is temperatures are going to warm up as we see our best chance of rain really holding off until late tomorrow into early on Monday. But this is when we actually could feel and see some thunderstorms rolling on through as we get most of that moisture off the coast by 7 o'clock in the morning. So by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, now you see those winds coming in from the north and west. So what can we expect in terms of maybe accumulation? Very, very light amounts, very glaze, if you will, from Walterboro to St. George over to Moncks Corner up to Kingstree. And again, this is based on the fact that we might have a little bit of moisture that could freeze over, but our impacts compared to other parts of our state will be very minor, and again, just right along that Interstate 95 corridor going out about 40 or 50 miles. We do have winter weather advisories up. They go up for us at 7 o'clock tonight all the way through 1 o'clock in the afternoon for the forecast that we talked about. Ice storm warnings back in the back. And meanwhile, we certainly could see some rain, not early in the day, but late in the day. So watch what happens when we roll through and those thunderstorms come through. Now we're talking about, in some cases, maybe 3/4 to possibly even an inch of rain in those thunderstorms later on tomorrow night and into early on Monday morning. Then after that, you heard all the speakers talk about what's coming after the ice, and that is some very cold temperatures. As far as tomorrow morning low, 34, pretty close to freezing, 41 on Monday, 21 on Tuesday, 26 on Wednesday. Those are the low temperatures. Look at the high temperatures warming up to 58. That's going to be key tomorrow to melt anything that does glaze. 51 on Monday, high on Tuesday, only 43, and 50 on Wednesday. So we've got some cold air that's coming in for next week. We are here monitoring the weather. We'll keep you updated, counton2.com and WCBD Plus. We'll see you right here, News 2 at 6 o'clock with another weather update. I'm Storm Team 2 Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler. Thanks for joining us for this winter weather update.